Stop right there. Hold your breath. Because in the world of professional imaging, there is a name that commands reverence. There is a series that defines the cutting edge. And for years, we've waited, speculated, and dreamed about the successor that would change everything yet again. We are talking about the long-awaited, the fiercely anticipated, the absolute titan, the Sony A7V Mark V, the A7V. If you think the current generation of full-frame mirrorless cameras is already perfect, you are operating on yesterday's knowledge. Because the advancements rumored to be baked into this machine are not just iterative, they are paradigm-shifting. This is not just a camera for taking pictures. This is a computational imaging device designed to rewrite the laws of photography and videography for the next 5 years. If you are a working professional, a serious enthusiast, or someone who simply refuses to settle for anything less than the absolute pinnacle of image capture technology, you need to hear every single word of this presentation. Because by the end of this deep dive, you will understand why the A7V isn't just a purchase. It's an inevitable, career-defining investment. Music shifts slightly, becoming more technical but maintaining intensity. Let's talk about the sensor, the very soul of the A7V. Rumors point toward a radical departure from the tried-and-true designs. We are anticipating a stacked CMOS sensor featuring groundbreaking pixel architecture, one that significantly challenges the megapixel wars while prioritizing something far more valuable: dynamic range and light sensitivity. Forget the slight bumps in resolution. We're looking at a sensor that captures light so accurately. The shadows will hold detail that current cameras render as pure black, and the highlights will retain texture where others simply blow out to white. We are talking about rendering the visible world with zero compromise, a dynamic range measured not in stops, but in raw, tangible reality. This is the kind of technological leap that makes old footage look amateurish overnight. But raw capture is nothing without the engine to process it. The A7V is expected to debut with the brand new, bespoke Sony Bion's XR Pro processor. This isn't just a faster version of the chip in the current flagship cinema cameras. It's a bespoke redesign focusing heavily on parallel processing cores dedicated solely to noise reduction and AI computation. This means low-light performance will enter a new dimension. Imagine clean, usable 40,000 ISO footage. Not noisy video you have to crush in post-production, but clean images straight out of the camera, ready for broadcast or print. This power directly translates to a massive leap in continuous shooting buffer, allowing professionals to capture an entire high-speed sequence without the dreaded slowdown, ensuring they never miss the decisive moment again. The video revolution, beyond cinema line specs. For years, videographers have had to choose the superb stills performance of the A7 series or the dedicated video power of the FX line. The A7V is rumored to irrevocably blur that line. We are expecting professional-grade video codecs baked directly into the standard body. Things like internal 10-bit for :2:2 recording at up to 8K, and perhaps even a surprise jump to 8K/60p utilizing the full sensor width, all while maintaining the incredible color science Sony is famous for. But the real story here is autofocus. Sony already leads the field, but the A7V is rumored to integrate the next generation of real-time tracking algorithms, powered by that new AI processor. We're not just talking about locking onto an eye. We're talking about predictive tracking that accounts for complex variables, a subject turning their head away from the lens, sudden shifts in lighting, or even partial occlusion by foreground objects. The focus system will seemingly know what you want to shoot before you do. For solo operators, this is the difference between a stressful shoot and a guaranteed hero shot every single time. It makes the camera an extension of your will. The body, the handling, the necessity. A powerhouse camera is useless if it destroys your hands or can't survive the shoot. The physical redesign, though subtle, addresses every single professional complaint leveled at previous generations. Expect an all-new, deeper, more sculpted grip, a tactile change that locks the camera securely into your hand, reducing fatigue. View during 12-hour days. The viewfinder? The electronic viewfinder, the EVF, is expected to receive an astronomical boost, likely moving to a high-resolution, high-refresh rate panel that makes shooting feel virtually optical. No more perceived lag, no more washed-out views in bright sun. You see exactly what the sensor is capturing instantly, vividly. And here is the detail that separates the hobbyist from the pro: card slots and connectivity. Forget compromises. The A7V is heavily rumored to feature a dual-slot configuration using dual C-FX Express Type B slots. This isn't optional. It's mandatory for handling those massive 8K/10-bit internal files. Furthermore, connectivity is getting a professional overhaul. A full-sized HDMI port, improved USB-C for direct high-speed tethering and power delivery, and built-in timecode sync capabilities to seamlessly integrate this camera with an entire multicam cinema rig. This camera doesn't want to be a secondary unit. It demands to be the primary workhorse. Why you cannot wait? This isn't about upgrading from an A7 III or even an A7 IV. This is about obsolescence management. In the current market, if you're shooting commercially, weddings, corporate video, fast-paced documentary work, and you're not shooting at the bleeding edge of dynamic range and low-light capability, you're already leaving money and credibility on the table. The Sony A7V is poised to deliver computational photography capabilities that will take images that were previously only achievable with vastly more expensive, specialized gear and put them into a body that is faster, smarter, and more intuitive than anything Sony has ever built. It is the convergence point, the ultimate stills performer, the definitive video tool, and the smartest autofocus system on the planet, all housed in one impeccably engineered chassis. The moment this camera drops, the used market for the previous generation will flood, but the moment you touch the A7V, the way it feels, the clarity of the image, the speed of the processor, you will realize that buying anything less is settling for a compromise you simply cannot afford to make. This is the camera that sets the new global benchmark. This is the tool that validates your talent. You owe it to your craft to see what this machine can do. The future of image capture is here, and it carries the Alpha badge. You heard the promise. Now, let's strip away the conjecture and focus on the cold, hard facts emerging from the deepest trenches of the rumor mill. Because what they're whispering about the sensor is the key to unlocking this entire device's potential. Forget the 33 megapixel count being a simple repeat of the A7 IV. That is a rookie mistake in tracking Sony's strategy. We are looking at a re-engineered 33 MP sensor, potentially the first partially stacked CMOS in this line. Why does that single word, partially stacked, ignite such fervor? Because it solves the Achilles heel of the A7 IV, readout speed. That sluggish, jelly-like rolling shutter that ruins fast panning shots in video, gone. That frustrating 1/8000th second mechanical shutter limit that forces you to use ND filters on a bright day just to freeze action, shattered, potentially moving to a blazing fast January 20th, 000th of a second electronic shutter. This isn't just better stills. This is unrestricted creative freedom. It means you can nail that ballet dancer mid-leap or capture a crisp, silent bird in flight without fighting the physics of the hardware. And the video implications are monumental. That much-hated, frustrating crop for 4K/60p, industry insiders are betting heavily that the improved readout speed finally allows uncropped, full-width 4K/60p recording. For the American filmmaker, this means retaining the native field of view of your favorite wide lenses without resorting to clumsy digital cropping or abandoning the standard for the S series. This is the A7 line finally achieving true, full-spec hybrid parity. The AI deep dive, your second brain. We mentioned the AI processor, but let's be clear, this is the central nervous system of the A7V. It is what separates this camera from every generation that came before it. Yes, it turbocharges the already superb real-time tracking AF, but its function goes far beyond just finding an eye in a crowd. Imagine AI-driven white balance lock. You're shooting a complex wedding reception with mixed lighting, tungsten spots, cool LEDs, and natural window light. You can now task the AI to lock onto a specific subject's skin tone and maintain that color profile across every frame, regardless of which light source moves into the foreground. This saves hours of tedious color correction in post-production. This is the democratization of professional-grade color pipeline management. Furthermore, consider AI-enhanced stabilization, IBIS. Rumors suggest a jump to an incredible 8 stops of stabilization. But the AI component means this isn't just brute force mechanical compensation. The camera maps the scene, understands the intent of the camera operator. Is the operator trying to hold still, or are they deliberately executing a cinematic, slow push-in? The IBIS then intelligently smooths only the unwanted micro-jitters, leaving intentional camera movement perfectly clean. It's the difference between holding a camera and making the camera feel like it's on a high-end motorized gimbal all the time. Ergonomics, the final polish. This is where Sony listens to the most dedicated users. The body design is expected to adopt the fully articulating screen scene on the A1 Mark II and A7RV. For the lone content creator, the vlogger, or the low-angle shooter, this is a game changer. You can now fully see yourself shooting from the hip, behind the camera, or above your head, with full touch access to the redesigned, more intuitive menu system. And for the sheer endurance required by professionals, look for dual CF Express Type A/SD slots. This hybrid slot system maintains backward compatibility for those older, reliable SD cards while instantly accommodating the blistering speed required by the new sensor's burst rates and internal codecs. Data management moves from a bottleneck to a managed flow. When you tally this up, the partially stacked sensor for zero rolling shutter, the native 4K/60p uncapped, the next level AI for color and stabilization, the articulating screen, the dual high-speed slots, the equation becomes devastatingly simple. The Sony A7V isn't just an iteration. It is Sony aggressively closing every single gap between their stills, video, and cinema lines into one singular, dominant force. This is the tool that silences every competitor's argument. Prepare your collection, because the moment this camera is announced, every other body in your bag will feel like a museum piece. You need to be ready to command this level of imaging power.